last week we looked at strategies where we pin and go for the underhook first, okay? We're gonna work on another skill for our entry this week, which is using a crossface to start separating the underhook first, okay? So from here, instead of pinning the arm, we're actually gonna go for the crossface first. Same details here, try to get a nice deep grip on the lat and turn your shoulder in, okay? Generally, his elbow is gonna be pretty tight here. Now, just like last week, we wanna put our whole body behind this, but we're gonna use a really specific motion, okay? So again, if we're doing this realistically, Ulysses is gonna continue to bite down with his elbow, and look, if I start to walk, not a lot happens. So right from here, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna straighten my arm. When I straighten my arm, his elbow is gonna move with my arm. I straighten, then I walk, straighten, walk. Every time he bites down, I straighten my arm and I walk. When you do this, you wanna make sure that your hand's on the mat, okay? If I go to straighten, I take my hand off the mat, he gets leverage over me, okay? So hand stays on the floor, walk, stretch, walk, stretch, until his elbow gets over his shoulder, just like last week, okay? Now from here, just like last week, I'm gonna convert the underhook to almost like a full cross face here with the head and the arm, okay? This is where we look for all of our mounted triangles, okay? Stepping over, sliding our knee over, okay? Now, two reasons to do that, okay? Those aren't working, or, and this is gonna be very common, you just don't prefer mounted triangles, okay? And to be honest with you guys, mounted arm bars are typically gonna be the more high percentage option angles, all right? So from here, when I make that decision, I'm literally gonna do the same thing on the other arm. Now, it's gonna be a little more difficult because I'm holding on to this as well. So something we can do here is start to make shoulder pressure on this side, okay? And I can do like a slight sprawl here, so I have more space to work with my arm, okay? Now it's the same thing. Walk, stretch, walk, stretch, okay? Until we get both elbows over the head, walk our knees up, and we can pause right here, okay? It is gonna start as like shallow as this, but just know if you're doing this, you're already doing the right thing. You just have to commit to those movements, if that makes sense. So last week was the wrist pin. This week we're gonna go right for the cross face. So now we have two methods of approaching. Get my wrist bone under the elbow, walk, stretch. Okay, get back to that wrap from last week. Okay, now from here, when I go to approach the second underhook to make space, I'm gonna cross face here, like I'm driving my shoulder into his tricep as I slightly stretch my leg. Now I'll look for the underhook here. Walk, stretch. Okay. Right here. From here to form S mount. Just like the mounted triangle, a big thing we need to do is lift the head off the ground, okay? So that's the first thing I'm gonna do. Now, as I do that, I already wanna start forming my angle. So typically on the side that I have the first underhook, that's gonna be like the strongest lift. The other hand's usually support. I'm typically gonna favor sliding my knee up on that side. Okay, so my right knee. See, it's a little bit higher than my left. As I do that, I start to lift his head, and then I bring my left heel through, okay? So essentially what this should feel like is you're transferring your underhooks to your lower body, your legs and your hips, okay? See, his arms are still above his head, okay? Now, as I do this, you guys see my head, I'm kind of getting 45 degrees. To get fully 90, watch my right foot. Okay, you guys see my heel's under my butt right now? I actually want to take my foot out. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pivot with that. Okay, so as my foot goes out, I'm going to start to turn. Okay? My heel's trying to pinch my knee here to get the proper positioning on the shoulders. Okay? We're going to assume for right now that Ulysses is not doing anything. Okay? And we're just going to go right for the arm bar. Alright? So, this is going to be a little bit different than regular topside arm bars. We don't need to worry about the phone as much. Okay? I'm not going to get as like straight up. Alright? So I'm worried about his elbow slipping out once my hips start to move. So for example, you'll see people do S Mount arm bars like this sometimes. It's not wrong, but this is the risk. Okay? You'll go to offset your weight here. You'll go to throw the knee over, and the elbow will slip. He might not even rip his arm all the way out like that, but if he gets his elbow past the hips, you do not have an arm bar, right? So Instead, this is what we're gonna focus on, okay? First, when I go to control his wrists, I'm gonna use either my hand or my elbow. It actually doesn't matter too much. And I'm gonna focus on making his arm less straight up and down and almost turning his elbow more like a kimura, okay? When his elbow's in this direction, it's harder to get through this gap here, right? And we're still gonna be able to put pressure into the elbow with our hip, okay? So, that's a good start. Now to make more space and unweight my right leg, you see how my hand's on the ground? I'm gonna heavily prefer to go to my elbow instead of my hand, okay? So my elbow goes down, you see that makes my right leg really light. Now it's easier to pass my foot over. Now as you pass the foot over, back heel, that's gonna start to lock the elbow out more and take his spine out of alignment. Now as I put pressure, watch my head, I'm gonna circle. And that's gonna drive my hip into the elbow, okay? Walk up here, okay? Elbows pinched. Okay, if I'm explaining the move and I'm being nice, look at my hips, they're not on her, okay? That's so she can breathe while I'm talking through all this, okay? So like, go ahead, like say a few words.
Yep.
Okay. Now if I'm doing this for real, how about now? Yeah, okay. So that's how you know you're doing it right. The hip that's closest to the legs, it's gonna sit directly on top of the chest, okay? So as you're situating all your details while you're drawing, you can just kind of leave it here so they're not suffering while you're like, what do I do? All right, so either here or here, it's up to you, okay? Now when I'm ready, this elbow is gonna go to the floor. And I'm gonna lean into that elbow so this leg gets light. And you guys see I'm turning the arm so it's harder for her to slip her elbow out. And then I just keep turning. So when I'm here, you guys see my knees are off of the floor, okay? My weight's into my elbow. Can you easily get to your side here? If you try. It's difficult, right? Yeah. Now some of you are doing this as you're doing the arm bar. You're here, and you don't have the confidence to go into your elbow, so you're putting your weight into your bottom knee here. How about now? Now it's not like a mounted triangle, okay? I'm not doing this, okay? There are techniques where you can use this, but this is technically not S mount. And we're looking to get more perpendicular with our arm bar, so this could take us out of position a little bit. So for now, don't do this, okay? For now, just try to remember this. When you're in S mount, keep your knees off the floor. Now, if it's not clear, the arm that is closest to you is the arm that you're arm barring, okay? So from here, you can start to make grips with the same side arm. Now, if he's not doing anything, we can just go right into the arm lock, all right? If he's gripping like this is something we should deal with. This is basic arm bar defense, right? He has this cage, he's ready. If I keep going with the technique, yeah, he's gonna catch my leg, okay? I'm not gonna step over with his arms like this, and this is actually good. We can use this as a giant trap. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start to separate his wrist and push it into my pocket, okay? Once I do that, it's gonna be like a monoplata. I'm gonna pull his elbow in, and I'm gonna use my rib cage to pinch his arm to my quad. Try to pull your arm out. It's very difficult. It's gonna take a long time to do that. Now from here, it's gonna be a safe spot to set our arm bar. So, one knee higher than the other. Very important, guys, make sure you lift. Could you do this without lifting? Yes, but will it tend to be looser? Also, yes, okay? So make sure you get here, pinch, and then we'll have a much tighter position here, okay? Now, remember, don't start getting to work here. Make sure you're getting your good angle first, okay? Now I'm more primed to arm bar him. Find that exposed wrist. We'll talk about if he's not doing this next. Pull it here, then tuck, okay? Hooking the wrist, okay? And now remember, we're not doing this. Can it work? Yes, but it's also a big risk in terms of space. You guys can see right here, a lot of space. Put your elbow on the ground and turn everything this way. And you guys, look, my knees don't go to the floor. Try to get up. Okay, don't do this. See, now he's getting to his side. All your weight into your elbow, your knees stay off the floor, and then you turn. Because if you bring your elbow too far this way, where in reality it should be going this way. Okay, so watch, I'll do it wrong kind of first. So if I post my elbow out this way, see, he still gets up to his side. But if I bring my elbow this way, can you get to your side? It's much more difficult for you. Guys, if you've been following along with like the top submissions I've been showing you guys since like December basically, this is an offshoot of the Monoplata position when I have you guys do this, okay? Me personally, if I ever run into problems with this elbow, let's say I pass over and it slips out for whatever reason, okay? Right back to December. If you guys remember when we did this in December and you back step, push on the leg. It's literally that same thing, just in reverse. So we're tying a lot of the previous classes together. You guys will run into issues here when he's not using this defense, okay? This one's so easy to deal with because there's just a floating hand here. It's really easy to move around, right? Sometimes, like some of the more inferior defenses, typically for arm bars, like where we lock our hands, are actually better in S mount because now I can't separate quite as easily. I definitely can't put this hand into the pocket, okay? And I'm on top of them, so it's gonna be way harder to separate the grip, okay? So this is a logical time to fall back for just the traditional arm bar, right? So from here, we're still gonna make the same details to get our leg over, very important, so again, we don't lose position here, okay? And this is really gonna drive home this sideways angle that we're using in S mount, okay? So I'll show you what I mean here. So as I bring the elbow here, okay? Guys, if they ever lock their hands and they let you extend the arm, you can still try to finish it. Somebody smart here though, they're gonna curl their arms, okay? Now, guys, I'm not gonna fall down like this, okay? Can this work? Yes, but also a lot of space here. I'm further away from Grant's legs, so it's easier for him to get on top. Okay, like switch his legs and get to like closer. Yeah. Another big problem though is the space between my legs. A lot of times here, as you fall to the mat, it's very easy to slip his elbow through. And again, no more arm bar. So guys, we're in S mount, our legs are like this, our legs are floating. We want to fall in this orientation, okay? It should be a nice, controlled, easy fall when we do this. Okay, so he locks his hands, I can't separate, I lean. And right here, guys, I'm just gonna put my left hip on the mat as I take my elbow off and I control his legs, okay? So now I have a better pinch against the elbow. It's gonna be harder for him to slip it out. If he tries to split his legs and get on top, it's gonna be almost impossible with me hooking. Now, when I feel that he's done trying to get on top, done trying to slip his elbow, all the things he might try to do here, that's when I'm gonna start to come up. Now guys, as you're doing this, remember, one of the key defenses here for me, okay, is my heels. So if you let go of the leg and he's like, okay, I'm gonna get up now, you need to use your heels to keep him on the mat. Again, very similar to the Monoplata we did like 2 weeks ago, all right? Now, once we get here, it's just gonna be a review of the basics, okay? What we are gonna do, however, is keep the theme of the pinch on his shoulders. So as I let go, instead of staying basic this week with the feet, I'm gonna grab his tricep, pull this in, and I'm gonna cross my feet against the shoulders. You should feel the same pressure as S mount here, okay? Pummel through, hook, ear to the mat, stretch, and again, pulling over the inside hip, okay? This time he locks his hands, he keeps his arms curled. Okay, so very hard to separate here. So now I'm gonna make the decision to take this to a normal arm bar, okay? So still elbow on the ground so I can pass my leg, okay? I'm sliding down at this angle, and as I take my elbow off, I'm collecting his leg. Nice tight heels here, guys, okay? If he's not trying to get up, time to let go, okay? As we sit up, I'll move from the leg to the far elbow, pull this in, cross the feet, pull your heels in. You should feel a nice tight pinch on the line of the shoulders here, okay? 1, 2, remember 2 good bicep curls when the hands are locked, ear to the floor, and then straighten and pulling the thumb. Okay, so try not to pull it over this hip too much. Somebody with good defense, that's a potential escape, okay? Make sure you're trying to pull it over the inside hip. My general advice here is gonna be, this is normal, especially with the next entry we're gonna do, there's a lot of forwards momentum. As we're coming this way, and if he's starting to sit up with me, guys, remember that main detail of your feet back heeling. So once you're ready to make your switch, or just in general, you shouldn't be letting him sit up. Okay, return him to the mat. And then this is gonna be a much safer, stronger spot to make him switch. I'm not gonna recommend this as everyone's first option, but it is gonna be an important one to have if we're falling forwards this time instead of falling backwards. And usually when we're falling forwards, it's not because we want to, okay? It's because he's doing a good job of getting off of his back, typically. Okay, so let's take a look at what that looks like. And again, this could be a symptom of two things. A, you're not getting to the most optimal pressure or angles right away. And B, honestly, you're just being too nice. Okay? So again, if we end up in situations here where our knees start to go more towards the ground and our hip starts to slide off of his chest this way, Grant has the ability to start burning. Okay, you can come all the way up. Okay, and a lot of times you guys will get driven right here. Okay? Whenever this is the case, you guys see what I did right away? I went back to my knees and my head. This is the same base I used when I was in double underhooks, right? And last week when I had the single underhook. From here, all we're gonna do is transfer to basically a rolling armbar / Choi Bar position, okay? So I'm always gonna lay on my head side hip from here, okay? So I'm facing his legs. If Grant, for whatever reason, unlocks his hands, I will pull my knees in and finish a Choi Bar style armbar here, okay? But most of the time, they're gonna lock their arms here, all right? So when this happens, we're gonna start to threaten the rolling armbar, okay? Sometimes they will just roll for you. If he does, he's gonna end up in the same position as last time. A lot of times, especially people in this gym, because we do this a lot, they're gonna play very patient here, okay? So I'm gonna use my free hand at this point to, again, attack his legs. So right away, I'm gonna go for an overhook on his close knee. I'm really gonna climb in tight, and then from here, sometimes it'll be hard to go right to the second knee. So I'll just start to climb up his leg. I'll go ankle, shin if need be, and then I'll start to pull his legs in, okay? And now from here, as I pinch my elbow, me pulling his leg is just supportive of me rolling flat to my back here. Okay, and then we'll end up right back in the same position we just did. Okay, pull this in, cross our feet. I'll show you guys like both hips, like why it matters which way you fall. All right, so he starts off balancing me forwards, okay? If I fall to this hip, he's just gonna come up into my close guard, okay? Again, a telltale sign you're doing this right is that you're on the side where you're looking at his legs. If you're not looking at your partner's legs, you're in the wrong spot, okay? You're gonna find out pretty quick too, because if you go the wrong way, they're just gonna get on top of you, okay? So he starts off, balance me, okay? Remember guys, don't go right to a hip here. Situate yourself, and this is gonna happen anyways if he's throwing you forwards really hard. Situate yourself by putting your knees and head on the ground, and then fall to your side. Now I'm in the right position. Makes sense? Armbar, okay. Guys, I should still be back heeling. I should still be driving my tailbone into the shoulder. A lot of you are out here, and when you go to roll, you're gonna lose that elbow. Okay? You're not obeying like the basics of the armbar. Even though you're upside down, you're still essentially doing the same things. Get here, for whatever reason, he could give me a big bump here and slide me off, good. Now I'll show one without my leg over the head. Okay, you can keep coming up. Guys, just make sure wherever your foot is, your knees are always in the same line. Don't try to do it back here. It's not gonna work. Okay, your legs are always aligned. Then I'll fall to my hip, okay? Again, if he unlocks, with the Choi Bar, okay? If he stays locked, which he almost certainly will be, we're fine. Guys, get nice and tight to the legs here. You can almost count that once you start grabbing the legs, he's going to give you a bit of a fight here, okay? So this needs to be a close, steady climb a lot of times. And now from here, I can start to pull the legs over. You guys see the shin behind the head's a little less ideal because now I have to rotate and win that battle of getting this over before he sits up, okay? Which there are further options. Again, eventually, like the rolling armbar could be its own class entirely. Okay. It's a very dynamic armbar, and once you start actually looking for this, you can see this from a million different places. Okay. Top, bottom, even standing sometimes. Okay. All right. So, what can I do here if he's strong his second leg away? Okay. First and foremost, the lower he is, the easier it's going to be to take the crossface leg off, potentially float over, and just take it back. Okay. Start to come up. Okay. What if you get to this position and before you can drop your hip, he starts posturing up? We looked at this with the Choi Bar guys. If you have a crossface leg here, or if you don't, just flip it over. We'll take them the other way instead.